FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com on a Friday morning. Beautiful morning, at least. If the afternoon is going to be a bit rainy, at least we got this today. And in the studio with us this morning, Janie McKirgan from the Jimmy Stewart Museum. And she's brought with her George Rothacker, who is back with us this morning. George in his typically understated appearance. Nice. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. If you're not watching on Facebook this morning, you ought to be, because you're going to see a spectacular suit that George is wearing this morning. And Janie, you look good too.
Well, thank you.
This is, of course, we're heading in, it's May the 17th. We're heading toward Jimmy Stewart's birthday at breakneck speed here, aren't we?
We are. We always do something special to celebrate his birthday. So a couple years ago, we started bringing an exhibit. We had a Grace Kelly exhibit, and last year we had Jimmy Stewart's sister Mary's artwork. And so now we have a tradition of bringing in some fabulous exhibit. So hence we have George Rothacker's beautiful 12 paintings of the movies and music of Hollywood, and they're really impressive. They're covering classic films like Casablanca, but Jimmy Stewart films like Vertigo and It's a Wonderful Life, and Wizard of Oz. And I can't tell you how amazing and impressive this series of original paintings are. And I hope people get out to see them.
Yeah. So they'll be on display for how long?
They'll be on display through the end of August, and so people can see them anytime. But if you come this weekend, you'll be able to meet and greet with the artist, George Rothacker, and talk to him about his whole series. You can get books or prints signed if you so choose to purchase one. But it's your opportunity to really talk with the artist who created these beautiful paintings.
Yeah, we'll get into that schedule in just a couple of moments. But we want to talk to George this morning and find out about this wonderful group of paintings that you've done. George, good morning, first of all.
Good morning.
It's
nice
good
to be here.
Good to have you back with us here today as we talk about something that really is not only close to your heart, it's a part of your heart, isn't it, all of this?
Oh, very much so. Both the movies and music of Hollywood, which is the exhibit, which I actually painted in 2014, but it was part of a journey that started back in 2002 when I first became part of the Jimmy Stewart legacy, in the sense that I came up here to paint for Snowfall, a painting which prints have sold for the last 22 years.
It's a gorgeous work.
And I love music. I'm not a musician. My mother was. But as an artist and writer, I love the stories. And I came upon a few stories which were really fascinating about the composers who wrote for the major Hollywood films in the 20th century. So it was all about 20th century films from early on up to the kind of the end of the 20th century, which ended with the Nightmare Before Christmas, which was Danny Elfman and Tim Burton, who did the directing and created it. It started with the work of Eric Korngold, who people may not know, but he did the Robin Hood series and Robin Hood movie and other films back in the 30s to 40s, and came over from Austria. He was an Austrian Jew, and like many of the composers, had to flee during Hitler's reign. And he wrote many things, but he was unnoticed until the 1970s, and then he was brought back by Andre Previn, and his music is played all over, and he's considered one of the masters of American music at this point. So in that process, I had to pick 12. I decided I would do 12 paintings, each one with its own character, with a different composer. And they were not all American composers, but they were American movies. They were all Hollywood films, such as Casablanca and Vertigo. And Vertigo was scored by Bernard Herrmann, who did many of Hitchcock's films, and Dmitry Tiomkin, who was from the Ukraine, who came over, and he wrote the score for It's a Wonderful Life. And that was a story where 30 minutes of his score was never used in the movie.
Oh, yeah?
But I put it back in from a recording by the London Philharmonic, who did the score and added it in, and the Stewart Museum played it in there for some time as an alternative to say, here's the movie with, and here's the movie without the score. Which do you like best?
I see. Well, that's fascinating. My goodness. You think of the great names of Hollywood composers, guys like Elmer Bernstein, and the role that they played in movies that really we don't know, and we don't understand. I guess is a better way to put it. We don't understand their contribution to the movie that we're watching on the screen.
Not as much. The one that we're most familiar with, I have one of the panels is Superman, and that was John Williams. And we know John Williams. I mean, he's played in all the concert halls in the world.
Yeah.
And his movies for Steven Spielberg, and I mean, just countless. But he's still writing music into his 90s. So, but some of these composers have faded away. The exhibit was to draw them back into the fold. There are cards that Janie's put up next to the paintings that explain some of the story of the composers and their relationships to the paintings too. Yeah. So it's a story besides just being an exhibit.
Somehow you managed to capture the music with the painting.
In several different ways. It also led through this journey to another piece that I had done with the Stewart Museum, which is actually being previewed, isn't it? Or part of it was previewed on the small screen at the theater, which is the composers who wrote the music for Jimmy Stewart movies. And it's about three major composers, Franz Waxman, Bernard Herrmann, and Dmitri Tiomkin. And it shows the movie, some of the sections that are in there. So it's a complete story. Wow. It's not just a painting. And
it'll be showing, it's a video, it'll be showing next to in the lobby where the exhibit is. And it'll show the movie, a scene without music. And then it'll show the music or the scene with the music. So people realize what the music does for the film.
And that was in The Wonderful Life, in the section I have on that. So it shows it. One scene, which is on the telephone, and it shows how the music sounded without it. So you compare, and then you can judge which one's which one is you'd like better. Yeah.
You can see how the music actually plays a big role in the movie itself. Well, Janie, when are we going to be able to come over and meet George this weekend?
Well, George will be here today, Friday, and Saturday from 11 to 1. So please come over to the museum, see the exhibit. You can talk to George. He'll have a lot of insight on his paintings. We also are giving away free Harvey cookies in honor of Jimmy Stewart's birthday for all visitors through Monday. And in tie-in with the composers is on Tuesday, we have a classic film blog group that's coming in to host our matinee, which switches next week to the Glenn Miller story. And they are highlighting 100 of Henry Mancini's films that he composed. And so they'll be here to do a little talk before our matinee on Tuesday. So they'll be here about 12:40. So if anybody comes in to watch matinee, they'll get an extra treat, which is nice. So it kind of ties into the whole weekend theme.
Sure. And of course, for the Jimmy Stewart birthday, it is always a special time. So folks really need to make the effort to get in there this weekend and enjoy that.
Absolutely. We really hope people come see. It's a great exhibit, and it's really nice to be able to bring in art. So we've got people have time for appreciation of art, music, and films. It's something that can stir conversation, and it's something that can bring us all together as a community, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and for a lot of folks, maybe their first time in a while in the Jimmy Stewart Museum, too.
Absolutely. We're trying to get people back in the doors by changing it up a little bit every time. So yeah.
It offers also the combination of other films other than Stewart's, but Stewart's, how as part of the collection of Hollywood, how important his were. 2 of the panels of 12 are Stewart movies. So it's exciting.
As you were working on these paintings, well, let me ask you this: a time frame from when you the first painting to when you said, okay, this is the end of the series, how long did it take you to put all of these together?
It was a year.
It took
It was a year, and I dedicated it to a person who was a neighbor who I couldn't show up at his birthday party. So I decided to dedicate it to him. And he had moved. He had Parkinson's disease. He had moved. He and his wife had moved down south. And I would send each one to him. And I had them pick one movie that they wanted. And they picked Out of Africa, which was composed by John Barry, an English writer who did the music for Dancing with Wolves too.
Beautiful score that was.
So I sent a print to them of each one, and they had them around their doorway in their house, all 12 of them, the prints.
Oh,
Better
nice.
for sale. It's a limited edition,
Yeah.
and signed and numbered.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things.
Picking a scene from any of those movies must have been torture because there would be so many different areas that you could go.
Well, it was fun because I did not plan out ahead which movie would come next. So that when I got to certain ones, I said, I just know this is right. Wizard of Oz, definitely. And I had to choose between, for a composer, Max Steiner, who wrote Gone with the Wind, and he also wrote the score for Casablanca. But I wanted to use Casablanca instead of Gone with the Wind because that would have duplicated a kind of a theme.
Sure.
So they were all a little bit different. And one thing was that I also have Fantasia in there. And I painted Mickey Mouse small in the painting, which I was concerned with because of the copyright on Mickey Mouse. Only the copyright has run out on Mickey Mouse this year, so I'm fine.
Great. Katie, Janie, one more time, the schedule for this weekend.
Schedule for this week is this series will be up all August, but on Friday and Saturday from 11 to 1, you can meet the artist, George Rothacker, and ask him about the collection and speak with him and buy a print if you'd like, or a book. And we'll be giving away free Harvey cookies. I'd like to thank, this wouldn't all be possible without our gallery sponsors, which is Rosebud Mining, in First Bank, their Skeeny Group, S&T Bank, and First Commonwealth Bank. So we appreciate their support.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for both coming over to visit with us today. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
The voice of Indiana County, WCCS. We're 30 seconds away from news at the top of the hour.
In a world filled with noise and chaos, find solace and purpose at the Church of Good Shepherd in Kent. Their doors are open, welcoming all who seek peace, belonging,